Oh, 10:20. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Narayanam Namaskritya
Namaskritya
Naram Cheva Narottamam
Naram Cheva Narottamam
Devim Saraswatim Vyasam
Devim Saraswatim Vyasam
Tato Devim Udiraye Nashtaprayashu Abhadreshu
Nashtaprayashu Abhadreshu
Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya
Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya
Bhagavate Uttama Shloke
Bhagavate Uttama Shloke
Bhaktir Bhavati Naistike.
Bhaktir Bhavati Naistike.
Okay, so today we'll do chapter 2, Canto 7, the Science of God, chapter 2, Hiranyakashipu, king of the demons. So in this chapter you'll see Hiranyakashipu, this is just after his brother Hiranyaksha is killed, and then he takes a vow to kill Narayana or Vishnu, like that. And then of course when he goes to his family members when they are crying, he then speaks the philosophy. And so you get to see that he has some knowledge, but it's more like agnostic or karma mimamsa, like that. Then if you work hard, the karma will come correctly. And then if you get the power, you can also destroy God himself, like that. So text 1, you can read.
Shri Narada Uvacha
Shri Narada Uvacha
Bhratari evam vinihate
Bhratarivam vinihate
Harina Krodhamurtina
Harina Krodhamurtina
Hiranyakashipu Rajan
Hiranyakashipu Rajan
Paryatapyadrushasucha
Paryatapyasasucha. Translation. Sri Narada Muni said, my dear King Yudhishthira, when Lord Vishnu in the form of Varaha, the boar, killed Hiranyaksha, Hiranyaksha's brother Hiranyakashipu was extremely angry and began to lament. So here it is said that he got so angry with Vishnu. So he was looking up in the sky at Vaikuntha and he was so angry that the smoke started coming out. That's how angry this guy was. So, and of course, to rectify the whole situation, the Lord arranged for Prahlad to take birth. And Narad Muni was the one who guided Prahlad by giving him the knowledge. And that actually helped the whole situation in the universe, because he was creating, no one could actually stop him. He was such a terrible person. Aside from the fact that they are Jayan Vijay, let's not worry about that. But they are now convinced that they are Hiranyaksha and Hiranyakashipu. So in that mood, as previously Sukadeva Goswami said, according to your modes, you will act certain way. So he's acting in that way, in the mode of passion and ignorance. So great anger and enmity towards Narayana. Okay, text 2.
Ahachedam Rushapurna Sadastata
Sandasta Kopojvaladhyam Chakshubhyam
Niriksham Dhumam
Ambaram. Filled with rage and biting his lips, Hiranyakashipu gazed at the sky with eyes that blazed in anger, making the whole sky smoky. Thus he began to speak. So this is his situation. Really angry at the Supreme Lord. Text 3.
Karaladam Strogra Drishtya Dasprekshya Brukoti Mukta Shulam Vadayam Yasambhasi Anavan Idam
Dhanavanigamapari, exhibiting his terrible deed, fierce glance, and frowning eyebrows. Terrible to see, he took up his weapon, a trident, and thus began speaking to his associates, the assembled demons. Seems like he had long, like vampire teeth like that. Texts 4 and 5.
Bho dhanava daiteya vimudham straksha sambara
Vimurdam Saksha Shambara
satabaho hayagriva
Shatabaho Hayagriva
namuje paka ilvala
Namuche Paka Ilvala
viprachitte mamavacha
Viprachitte mamavacha
puloman sakunadaya
Puloman shakunadaya
srunutanantaram sarve
Shunanantaram sarve
kriyatam ashumachira
Kriyatamashamachiram
O Danavas and Daityas, O Dvimurda, Triyaksha, Shambara, Shatabahu, O Ayagriva, Namuchi, Paka, and Ilvala, O Viprachitti, Puloman, Shakuna, and other demons, all of you, kindly hear me attentively and then act according to my words without delay.
just like Lord comes with his associates. He is electing.
He's one of the. It's like one of the leaders, so he's rallying the forces, and of course here Prabhupada says and other demons. So maybe because they are all asuras. So when we say asura, they are demon in English. It's but in English demon means like really terrible thing. But here in our usage, demon means against Vedic culture. Yeah, or Narayan like that. Text 6.
Kapatnay ghatita kshudray
Sapanayagahita Shudray
bharata me daita surat
Brata Netaita Surit
vasnigrahena harina
Pashrigayana Harina
samena pi upadhavanam
Saminapi Upadavanahi. My insignificant enemies, the demigods, have combined to kill my very dear and obedient well-wisher, my brother Hiranyaksha. Although the Supreme Lord Vishnu is always equal to both of us, namely the demigods and the demons, this time being devoutly worshipped by the demigods, he has taken their side and helped them kill Hiranyaksha. So he also says he is equal, but this time he took their side.
So he is a Supreme Lord. He accepts.
He
Well,
accepts it.
And he
yeah.
also accepts the fact that he's a demon himself, right? Because he's talking about he's differentiating himself from the
Yeah.
demigods.
That they know.
Right. So Prabhupada says there in the purport, they are always thinking of the Lord as supreme, They're always, but in an inimical way. Yeah. And he's saying here that the Lord took their side. So he's accusing of taking sides. So if you follow the law, then in the government won't punish you. But if you go against the law, the government will come. It doesn't mean that, they are taking sides. So the same way, Srila Prabhupada makes that argument. Text 7 and 8.
Tasya takta svabhavasya
Tasya svabhavasya
nirmaya vanukasha
Nirmaya vanukasha
bhajantam bhajamanasya
Bhajantam bhajamanasya
balasyeva stitratmana
Balasya Stiratmanaha
machula bhinna grivasya
Machula Vinna Devasya
bhurina rudirena vai
Gurinadinena
pashriyam tatvaisye
Ashapriyam Tarvaishye
bharataram me gatapyataha
Rataram me Gatayata. The Supreme Personality of Godhead has given up his natural tendency of equality toward the demons and demigods. Although he is the Supreme Person, now influenced by Maya, he has assumed the form of a boar to please his devotees, the demigods, just as a restless child leans towards someone. I shall therefore sever Lord Vishnu's head from his trunk by my trident, and with the profuse blood from his body, I shall please my brother Hiranyaksha, who was so fond of sucking blood. Thus shall I too be peaceful. Look at the the mentality. So, and he has a flaw here. He says the Lord is influenced by Maya.
Yeah.
Okay. So generally, this is how the demons think. They always think that the Supreme Lord is also under the same influence. Indirectly, they're thinking the Lord is also a part of the creation.
Yeah.
But that is wrong. So it's not like as if the Lord keeps changing sides or something. No, it's just that if you go against certain rules, law, then he is only going following according to the rules and law. And in any case, Hiranyaksha wanted to fight with him also. Remember? He came and then he stole the planner. He was causing so much havoc. So the Lord punished him that way. And he didn't like that. He can't understand he is a supreme person who is not conditioned by material energy. And the other point in the purport, in the second paragraph, Srila Prabhupada says, demons always think that Vishnu can be killed. So that means they are thinking they are just the same like us, material body and so on. So that is incorrect. So we already went through all this discussion in the previous chapter. And then the other point Srila Prabhupada highlights is Hiranyaksha was so fond of sucking blood. So Prabhupada says another fact disclosed herein is that demons are very much fond of sucking blood. Indeed, all of them are meat eaters and blood suckers. Which is true. They are, they mostly those who are atheistic, they think they can do anything and it's okay. So and then also he's accusing the Lord as a small child with a restless mind. And if you offer him something, he'll take side like that. Then Prabhupada says that's not the true. You can offer him, but you have to offer it with love. Okay, the whole thing is bhakti. Yeah. So he is Bhakta Vatsala. If you love him and serve him, then he'll come and protect you out of affection. Yeah, so Prabhupada says his devotees, the favor he shows his devotees are not disqualification, but rather his natural affection. Remember I said about parent may have so many children. Yeah, if the child is always taking care, so naturally he'll show favor to that child. And then, of course, he says he wants to cut the Lord's head. Then there's no possibility. So the Prabhupada says, as for Rudira, or the blood of Lord Vishnu, since there's no possibility of severing Lord Vishnu's head from his body, there's no question of blood. But the garland that decorates Vishnu's body is as red as blood. When the demons achieve Sayuja Mukti and leave behind their sinful activities, they are blessed by Vishnu's garland, which is red like blood. That's very interesting. After attaining Sayuja Mukti, the demons are sometimes promoted to the Vaikuntha world, where they receive the reward of Lord's garland prasada. That's nice, huh? See, after training in Sayuja, remember you asking what happens? So those who are qualified, they can go back. If you are not, then you come down. Yeah. So after attaining Sayuja Mukti, they were sometimes promoted. Those who take up devotion service.
By their choice.
By their choice. It's not forced. Okay. Where's your Advaita and they're feeling? They're feeling. You were saying?
They are attending.
Oh, yeah. Probably, yeah. I know them. I know there's another program. Text 9.
Tasmin kote ahite nashte.
Tasmin kote ahite nashte.
Krittamule vanaspata.
Krittamule vanaspata.
Vitapayi vasushyanti.
Vitapayi vasushyanti.
Vishnu prana davokasha.
Vishnu prana devokasha.
Devokasha. Diva Okasha. These are demigods. When the root of the tree is cut and the tree falls down, its branches and twigs automatically dry up. Similarly, when I kill this diplomatic Vishnu, the demigods for whom Lord Vishnu is the life and soul will lose the source of their life and wither away.
knows the Lord Vishnu is the source.
Yes.
Same philosophy,
Yeah.
applying the wrong way.
Wrong way. Yeah. Lord Vishnu is the source of life for all of us. Yeah. So not just for the demigods, even for the demons himself. So he's
Yeah,
misunderstanding. The other thing is the Lord, out of affection for the demigods, he comes in different avatars to help out. Because the demons don't show affection, so what do you expect him to do, right? So it's like that. So out of affection, so he comes and helps the demigods. And Prabhupada also explains in the purport, the demigods always follow instructions of Supreme Personality of God. So it also is same for us. When we follow what Srila Prabhupada tells, then we are just like the demigods. Okay, so there's no difference. But as soon as you don't follow and do your own thing, then you're as good as the demon. Like that. And then you cannot say the Lord is not giving you mercy when you don't follow. Like that. Now, and then the other thing is, even though they understand the Vedic philosophy, they only understand the Karma Kanda section, the demons. So therefore, for them, the study of Vedas don't really give them much knowledge about the existence of the Supreme Lord or devotional aspect of it. So they only go for the Dharma, Artha, Kama, and Moksha also, but Moksha in a different way for them. Yeah. But generally it's Dharma, Artha, Kama. Yeah. So they want to be religious
So
for
that
they can get Artha and Kama. So that is the focus of atheistic people who still use the Vedic knowledge. So you can see here how his whole discussion is. So he's saying that the demigods depend much on the mercy of the Lord. So he's thinking if you kill the Lord, the demigods are finished. Yeah. But in any case, Prabhupada says this is indirect glorification of the demigods by the demons, means they are always praising and worshipping the Lord, attached to the Supreme Lord. Like that. Text 10.
Tavadyata bhuvam yuyam brahmakshatra samedhita sudayabham tapoyajna svajjaya vratadhanina.
So he makes a decision. While I'm engaged in the business of killing, Lord Vishnu, go down to the planet Earth, which is flourishing due to Brahminical culture and a Kshatriya government. These people engage in austerity, sacrifice, Vedic study, regulative vows, and charity. Destroy all the people, thus engage. So the whole idea is to create chaos for the Brahminical culture.
Reduce mode of goodness.
And to reduce, yes, mode of goodness. So that the demigods will be disturbed or will lose the potency. That's his idea, his plan. So he's thinking if you do that, then everything will be all right. Because in general, when you cultivate properly, when you teach from a very young age what is good for you and so on, it's a natural tendency to carry on that process. So Srila Prabhupada says, people are inclined to offer yagnas because unless sacrifices are offered, there will be insufficient rain, because they accept that. So they'll do all those sacrifices. But the foolish demon here thinks that because of the sacrifice, the demigods are actually living off it and they are getting their potency. Like that. So he says, destroy all the culture and then the demigods will lose also at the same time. Of course, in the proper society, you have the four ashrams and the social order. The Brahmanas, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, and Shudras. All of them have equal responsibility. But within the four, the Brahmanas' responsibility is to teach the other three and to guide the Kshatriyas. And the Kshatriya is supposed to protect all the other three. The Vaishyas to provide enough food and economic needs for the other three. And the Shudras are supposed to help support the other three. So everyone is interdependent. Not that one person is needed and the others are not needed. If they why Brahmanas are all alone, they cannot actually do much. So then they have to do the both the Kshatriya's work and the Vaishya's work as well as the Shudra, which is what we do as Vaishnavas. So in one sense, you can understand that the system is set up for the benefit of everyone, not that one is better than the other. Okay, and then and then you can tell the people what is good for you, and then they'll come and do the yagyas accordingly. And so that is basically what Srila Prabhupada mentions in the purport. And on behalf of the Lord, the demigods will take some of the sacrifice, like that. And based on that, they provide in the universal affairs. They provide the food, the rain, everything. Not that they are the originator creators, but they have been given assigned roles within the universe to provide for others. They are in charge. So like that. So once they consider or they see everyone is providing, they also send the rains correctly. The climate is good. Like in Kali Yuga, we don't do much sacrifice anymore. So therefore, sometimes it's hot, sometimes it's cold. Or one day is hot, one day is cold. Like yesterday was cold, today is hot, tomorrow who knows, right? Like that. So it's like that. So all these necessities are provided. Even the planet also will provide. If we follow the Yagya and Brahmanical culture, so when they need certain herbs, it will be growing. Now so many things are not growing. The planet itself, the earth itself is dead. Not that the planet cannot give, but because she is refusing to give. Because we are not following Brahmanical culture. So then you go and buy chemicals, calcium, phosphate, and then you put in the soil, miracle grow, and then hopefully it grows.
It'll give reaction.
Yeah. So then you see all these problems we are trying. But in those days, they didn't have to. Automatically it will grow.
Prithu Maharaj.
Yeah. So we read in the 4th canto by Prithu Maharaj how the planet was refusing because people were not doing things properly, but he chastised her and then she provided everything. So all these herbs, wonderful plants, fruits, everything are given by the planet. Even gold, important minerals, everything is provided. If you need, it provides, which are very essential for our life, like that. But if we forget the purpose of human life, Prabhupada says, then you're taking it just for sense gratification. According to our use of the universe or the planet is to use for the sake of going back to God. Use what you need, not accumulating. Mostly people accumulate. Even if you see the billionaire and all, they are only accumulating money. And yeah, they may say they're happy, but what is the point of having so much? You don't want to help someone, right? And you accumulate, and then everything in the end will go. Yeah. So that consciousness is selfish, and that is not the aim of life. Okay, and therefore, if we just take for ourselves, we are just a society of, Prabhupada says, thieves. Just society of thieves, and therefore, how can you be happy? Thieves means you steal from one another.
Exactly.
Right? Each of them is trying to steal. So how they steal? They open the stock market. It's true. Stock market is just gambling.
Yeah.
I think this will go up, so I'll buy more of this share. It's speculative. It's based on who is buying what shares more, and the stock goes up or down. And it's not a real value, not based on real value. So therefore, they all try to steal from one another like that, or they hold on to it, hope that it gets more money. Right? So these are all hoarding mentality. If you cultivate those qualities, you become selfish only. Therefore, these things are not recommended for us. Of course, some people will say, no, I'm doing this for the benefit of the temple, I'm putting some stock here. That's a different reason. And as long as the risk is not so bad, I think you are doing it for good, it's okay. But if you're just doing it just to accumulate, then it's not for the right reason. So that is therefore a society of thieves. And because they have no goal of life, they will continue cheating and stealing, and they will be doing it just for sense enjoyment. But how much can you enjoy your senses? Yeah, after 50 years old, your senses will lose. You really can't enjoy, even if you want to enjoy. Even if you want to enjoy nice, rich food, they'll say you have diabetes, sir. Please stop. You cannot eat like that. And it's true, right? We see so many people, and because our lifestyle is now sitting in front of a laptop or a monitor or TV, everything, that's all. Even in school, the children don't run, they are forced to run. The teachers will say PE time, you see all with the head down, or they have the cell phone, playing with the cell phone when they go to school. It's true, people become so inactive now, and so the senses are becoming weak also. You can only enjoy so much, and then that's it. It becomes weak and you cannot enjoy anymore. So therefore, understanding this very sad situation, Prabhupada explains that Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, feeling compassion for us, brought the Sankirtan Yajna. And so we are, namely, how to chant the holy name. And then by doing that, we understand deeply in our heart the purpose of the life. Now, those who don't understand that, they have difficulty picking it up because of the modes that they are associating with. Remember in the previous chapter we were discussing different modes act on us. So it becomes harder for them to take up the process. So, but if they have good intelligence, they will associate with like-minded people. That means they know these people this devotee is doing very nicely. Let me associate, let me hear from them, let me do service to them. By doing that, you will get some benefit. That's the idea. The whole mood is to become a servant. Then you have the ability to perform Sankirtan Yajna and please the Lord. So basically, in the last paragraph, Srila Prabhupada summarizes what he is saying. Hiranyakashipu planned to kill the inhabitants of earth so that Yajna would stop and the demigods being disturbed would die automatically. Lord Vishnu, the Yagneshwara, was killed. These were the demoniac plans of Hiranyakashipu, who was expert in such activities. So there are people like that, who's always planning, scientists and all. Text 11.
Vishnu Dvija Kriya Mulo Yajno Dharma Maya Puman Devashi Pitri Bhutanam Dharmasya Cha Parayanam.
The basic principle of Brahminical culture is to satisfy Lord Vishnu, the personification of sacrificial and ritualistic ceremonies. Lord Vishnu is the personified reservoir of all religious principles, and is the shelter of all the demigods, the great Pitas, and the people in general. When the Brahmanas are killed, no one will exist to encourage the Kshatriyas to perform yagnas, and thus the demigods, not being appeased by yagna, will automatically die. So he understands the position of Vishnu, but still you can see the so much false understanding of their own existence. So he's not thinking that he is also existing because of the mercy of Vishnu here. His own understanding is all the other people who are Brahminical in nature are only existing because of Vishnu. But he is thinking he is existing on his own, like Darwin's theory. You evolve on your own, like that. So this is what he's saying. An anti-Brahminical culture he is proposing. So once you get rid of this Brahminical culture, then no more, you don't have to worry about demons. Then you will see later, his point is we can do all these things. Just like in China, they need rain. What they do is they go and do cloud seeding. They put the silver iodide on the clouds, and then that will attract the molecules, water molecules, and then it'll rain. So they're thinking they can do that. The technology, they're thinking, oh, I can do this. We don't need the yagna, we can do it. But look at our situation in the world. They're all suffering. Droughts here, forest fire there. Everyone says California is a great place to live, but earthquake, forest fire, and the drought. So what is the enjoyment there? Little bit happiness here and there. But mostly they are running from the fire, like that. So everywhere in the world is like that. So his understanding is incomplete. In a sense, he's right. The principle of Brahminical culture is to satisfy Lord Vishnu. That is true. But he himself doesn't understand that is the goal of life. His understanding goal of life is Dharma, Artha, Kama. That's it. And even if there's moksha, it's got nothing to do with Vishnu. That's how he's thinking. So if we follow in this same kind of mentality, then we will find that we will also suffer. So to allow us to get out of this kind of thinking mentality, Mahaprabhu therefore came to give us this Sankirtan movement, which is why Srila Prabhupada quotes this verse, which is from the Brihan Naradiya Purana. Hare Nama, Hare Nama, Hare Nama Vaikevalam, Kalo Nasteva, 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 Gati, Anyata. There's no other way, there's no other way, there's no other way except to chant the holy name of the Lord, the holy name of the Lord, the holy name of the Lord, in the age of Kali. So another aspect Srila Prabhupada says, nowadays, the situation is because there are more people who are demoniac in their thinking. They are born in this particular age because such people don't want to worship Supreme Person. So they get the chance to take birth in Kali Yuga. No religious practice or very few religious practice. Or if you want, you can create your own religion. Right? Yeah, nobody's going to stop you. In the previous ages, the Kshatriyas will kill you if you start your own philosophy. Or at least you won't come out of the forest. You can do your nonsense. But in this age, anything can go. So for such people, the Lord allows them to take birth in this Kali Yuga. Also, that's one thing. The other thing is some of the demons in the previous age who were killed by Vishnu are also given the opportunity to take birth in Brahminical family. In Kali Yuga. So therefore, they come to destroy the Brahminical culture. So if you can say I'm Brahmin, but you can be a demon also. From the previous possible, but I'm saying that if you are a devotee, that's the best. Yeah. So, and also the yuga itself causes the increase of passion and ignorance. The yuga itself has its own potency, governed by the Lord's desire. It increases ignorance and passion mainly, and therefore people are attracted to those kind of qualities because they themselves are in ignorance. And to help them, we who have understood some aspects or some little thing, we should go and help them also. And that's what we are doing. And unless we understand Prabhupada's books nicely, no point talking about anything. And that's our small attempt here. We all of us get together to read the Bhagavatam and to understand what is happening in this world. So you can see Hiranyakashipu was millions of years ago. What he's saying is what people are saying now also. There's no difference. The time may have changed and so on, but the philosophies are still the same.
Principles are same. Principles are same.
It's the same, yeah.
Demonic principles.
So you can see, even those who claim to be Brahmanas nowadays, they don't understand the scriptures properly. Therefore, they can't guide the population. And so people lose faith. So successfully, they destroy the Brahminical culture. And so you need a person from Goloka Vrindavan to come down to reorganize how to worship Krishna or Narayana or Vishnu, which is Srila Prabhupada. So he has given us a very simple formula. If we apply nicely, we will be successful. Okay.
So you mentioned demons come as brahmanas.
Yeah.
They also come as scientists. Maybe.
Yeah.
Most of them.
All of them. But well, scientists also. Yeah.
They're considered like
Atheistic.
brahmanas.
They are asuras.
So the respect given to brahmanas nowadays people
Give it to scientists.
community.
Yeah. So, because for lack of spiritual knowledge in understanding the nature of the material world, they don't have the proper knowledge. That knowledge is now given by the scientists. So therefore, they take shelter of the scientists. Yeah. But if we know our scripture, we can give those knowledge. Yeah. And then the scientists will say other things. So Prabhupada says this is the reason why this culture or this movement was inaugurated. He says to revive Brahminical culture. So that is the same philosophy when the now you should remember Bharatvarsha was first conquered by Alexander the Great. And he tried to influence using his philosophy and nothing happened. Then he had to give up and he left. And then after him, who came? The Mughals. So Mughals came, they also infiltrated and they pushed in their Muslim culture. Still they couldn't change the Brahminical culture. And then finally the British came. How they changed? They started to attack the Brahminical culture. So that's how the Indians started to lose the Brahminical culture. And even they couldn't do so much impact. Then television with the Americans came, the McDonald's, corporation, multinational, and they changed easily. Yeah. McDonald culture, Kentucky Fried Chicken culture. So now you see many Indian boys, I met a few, they say they are from Brahminical family. They're working in Kentucky Fried Chicken, McDonald's, and they're eating also. They say nothing wrong. So that's how which is what Hiranyakashipu's plan is. Get rid of the Brahminical culture, then you can destroy everybody. So you can see that. Huh? So in the modern day, you can see.
Strategy is similar to what British.
It is the same. Whatever he says is exactly what they all try to do. Yeah. Hiranyakashipu is the biggest demon in the entire universe or history. Yeah. No one can equal him. Prabhupada says that. What happened?
Huh?
What happened? In my snow, you're here.
Once in a while.
Okay. So that is why Srila Prabhupada says he has come to help the people in this state, to help us actually. So we should feel very happy with this statement that Prabhupada is saying. That he says so that people may become happy and peaceful in this life. Means you should reevaluate what your happiness is. And then you ask yourself, what is this happiness he's promising? He says, prepare for elevation in the next life. Yes?
So, Bharatavarsha meaning like it used to be the entire earth planet
Yes,
is Bharatavarsha,
yes.
right? How come the only Brahminical culture is mostly in India? Like how it is not like it didn't spread?
No, it spread. It was all over the world. But then, the kings used to rule from Bharatvarsha. Now, it's like in every situation, over a period of time, the strength of the king is minimized, Or he dies, the next king will take it easy, right? let's say you give your son and daughter everything, they won't work hard, no? Right? It's true. So the same way the kings, so subsequent generations become weaker, kings are weaker. They didn't go with their forces to check on the outskirts, right? They didn't send forces to make sure everything is good. They say it's okay, don't care, like that. As long as they give us the tax money. As long as they pay tax, I'm happy. So they send their tax and they do nonsense. So that's how it is. So then slowly, the Brahminical culture became less. And then those people became inimical towards the king. They attack and then they fight and they capture their own land. And the king still don't go and fight. He said, who cares? I'm happy here. So that's the problem. So that is why in Kali Yuga, the kings became weaker. That's one reason. The second reason is the Lord also wants the Kali Yuga to progress so that people with that desire can take birth.
Get the opportunity.
Yeah. Otherwise, where they have no choice, they cannot take birth in the previous years. It's only in this time. So they are allowed to take birth and fulfill their demoniac or atheistic wishes. And, happy.
Lord is equal to all.
So so the Lord is very partial in that, impartial in that. He allows everyone to satisfy their material desires. So the best thing for us to do is Hari Kirtan or Sankirtan movement. So we propagate that and that will change people's consciousness for sure. It may not be immediate, but in general it purifies enough for them to think about the goal of life. Okay. Text 12.
Yatra yatra dvijagavo
Yatra vijagavo
Vedavarna shrama kriya
Vedavarna kriya
Tam tam janapadam yata
Tam janapadam yata
Sandipayata vrishchata
Sandipayata vishata.
Immediately go wherever there's good protection for the cows and Brahmanas, and wherever the Vedas are studied in terms of the Varnashrama principles, set fire to those places and cut from the roots the trees there, which are the source of life. So this is exactly materialistic. You see nice forest, over there used to be a nice pine forest.
Yeah.
They cut everything out and now they have all houses, $1 million houses. Yeah. So you can see it's exactly right. And then no more protection for the cows. They kill the cows, right? And they don't want people to know that there's God. So they don't want you to study philosophy or religious activity. So in school, no more, they don't want the mention of God. And so they segregate all this. So you can see these are all exactly happening in the present human civilization.
Humanist philosophy.
Huh?
Humanist
Oh,
means for humans there is no higher truth needed
because
they are complete in themselves. They can fulfill all their desires by themselves. They don't need.
that's a new philosophy, no? Humanist.
Okay. So you focus on human.
Yeah. So that's why you don't have any philosophy. All nonsense philosophy. What is their philosophy? Whoever has the power, his philosophy is the right philosophy. Right? So like Trump has his own philosophy of managing the government. You can see, he says one thing, next day he changes it, and then nobody can say anything because he is the president. So this is what nonsensical philosophy is going on. Politics, nonsense literature, nonsense industries, all for useless understanding like that. Yeah, so but Srila Prabhupada says to counteract that, we should therefore print books, the literature that will help these people. So we will have our own publication, our own paper mills, like that. And that will be helpful for the society. Okay. Otherwise, it's all sinful life. Text 13.
Iti te bhatta nirdesham adaya shirasadrita
Yatha prajanam kadanam
Vidadhu kadana priya.
vidhadu karana priya.
Thus the demons, being fond of disastrous activities, took Hiranyakashipu's instructions on their heads with great respect and offered him obeisances. According to his directions, they engaged in envious activities directed against all living beings. So you can see it nowadays also. Huh? They're doing that. In North Korea, how the guy is always causing problems to their own people anyway. And he's like, if you don't listen, I'll shoot some bomb. Right? Iran, Iraq, all the same thing. All these are demoniac. They don't have love for other people. Whereas we are trying to teach how to love God. By loving God, you should love everyone. Their philosophy is to kill people so you can love God. Right? But all these are nonsense philosophies. It's based on envy, actually. Why you should have more, why you should. Same with the American government also. They want everyone to depend on them. So they're going to cause problems all over the world. They get involved in all the politics and then they cause problems like that. So basically, nobody wants the philosophy of God. Nobody wants that, because then no one can get control. Then you have to accept God controls. So therefore they want to destroy this God consciousness, which is what is happening. If you have God consciousness, what is the first thing that will happen? If people are all
Huh?
No. The economy will go down. Actually.
Yes, that's right.
Oh yeah, the economy.
The economy will go down because people won't want to have any more sense enjoyment. Reduction in sense. Therefore, they cannot accept. They say it's wrong philosophy. The American economy is based on everyone has the right to make money and have a enjoyable life. So they argue, like you say, why the healthcare is so expensive? They say, why we can't make money? That is the argument.
To work harder.
They say, you work hard, you pay for your healthcare. Their philosophy is not we should help others. Rather, yeah, we don't mind, but we also, since we are providing service, we have the right to make as much money as we want. But they're not thinking what is reasonable. Right? According to the legal judicial system, something should be reasonable, before you can argue the case. But in this case, they all agree they need to make profit. So therefore, the reasonableness goes out the door. It is based on fruitive mentality, based on materialistic culture. Therefore, you all find that this is what's happening. We find all this philosophy is very strongly atheistic.
Yesterday, I called the pharmacy for a medicine. She said $305 for one course of tablets.
Wow.
I said, okay, I won't take it.
That's what happened. People stop taking their medication and then they die. I mean, not saying that.
I died thinking of Krishna.
I'm talking about so many cases they cannot afford and they die because of the...
$305 is way too much for a medicine.
No, do you remember the EpiPen incident? They were charging $1,000. Yeah. Now it's down to 500, I think. Yeah.
Too much cost.
Unnecessarily. It's just... Anyway, you know how people are. Okay. Text 14.
Puragrama Vrajodhyana.
Puragrama Vrajodhyana.
Kshetra Rama Shramakaram.
Kshetra Rama Shramakaram.
Ketakarvata Koshamscha.
Ketakarvata Koshamscha.
Dadahu Pattanani cha.
Dadahu Pattanani cha.
The demons set fire to the cities, villages, pasturing grounds, cow pens, gardens, agricultural fields, and natural forests. They burned the hermitages of the saintly persons, the important mines that produced valuable metals, the residential quarters of the agriculturists, the mountain villages, and the villages of the cow protectors, the cow herdmen. They also burned the government capital. Basically, they killed everyone. No? They don't care. They just kill everyone. Instead of using it in the service of Krishna, They don't want it to be used in the service of Krishna. So therefore, instead of even giving or taking for their own use, they don't want anyone to enjoy. They destroy everything, which is very common. Enviousness. So you can see the symptom of envious is, if I can't have it, no one should have it also. So like you cook, someone cooks very nicely, so you are very unhappy the person cook. You go there, when they are not there, you throw a lot of chili or something in the pot, mix and go away.
The restaurant waiters do that. No?
Huh?
The restaurant waiters,
Ah.
waiters at the restaurant, they do that.
Oh, see,
If you
there you
offend
go.
them saying, "Oh, this is not good. This is not the way you serve food," and that's it. They do all
Right.
kinds of nonsense in the food.
Yeah.
They mix in.
Yeah. I've seen that.
Yeah, so it's like that,
You've
because
seen
you're
that?
envious.
Yeah.
You seen that?
Yeah, it happened to me also.
Before he was a dinner.
Yeah. Of course, right?
Yeah, so you can see here, instead of our goal is to use all the resources in the service of pleasing Krishna, but here you see what Hiranyakashipu is advocating: total disregard for the Supreme Person, and part of that is to destroy. Atheistic mentality is like that, just to destroy, like that. People do not know that the highest goal of human life is to please Lord Vishnu. They simply plan to kill God and enjoy. They think once God is a God, we can enjoy. It's funny, but that's how they think. A lot of people don't accept the existence of God. Text 15.
केचित् कनित्रैर्विबुधौ
केचित् कनित्रैर्विविधौ
सेतु प्रकार गोपुरान्
सेतुप्रकार गोपुरम्
अजिव्यांश्चित्तुर्वृक्षान्
अजिव्यांश्चित्तुर्वृक्षान्
केचित् परशुपानय
केचित् परशुपानय
प्रातः शरणानि एके
प्रातः शरणानि एके
प्रजानां ज्वलितोन्मुखै
प्रजानां ज्वलितोन्मुखै.
Translation. Some of the demons took digging instruments and broke down the bridges, the protective walls, and the gates, gopuras, of the cities. Some took axes and began cutting the important trees that produce mango, jackfruit, and other sources of food. You see, it's so envious. Some of the demons took firebrands and set fire to the residential quarters of the citizens. Now, if you have mango, jackfruit, all this growing means you're doing the right thing in the city or whatever. But if you can't grow those things, that means the city is not so pious like that.
Only mango, jackfruit, or generally fruits and vegetables?
I'm just quoting from you, mango, jackfruit, and others.
I like everything.
Yeah. Prabhupada adds more trees. He says coconut trees, berry trees. Yeah. Oh, and then he qualifies it. And then Prabhupada qualifies it and says any tree that produces nice fruit for the maintenance of the people should not be cut at all. This is a shastric injunction. Yeah. So unnecessarily you can, otherwise it's sinful. So sometimes, even devotees will say, oh, this is in the way, we should cut the tree. But in Bombay, Srila Prabhupada refused to.
cut the
The tree is still there now, in the middle of the road.
coconut tree.
No, I don't know what tree it is, but it's still there. I don't know. Text 16.
He's following this particular verse.
Yeah.
एवं विप्राक्ते लोके
एवं विप्रकृते लोके
दैत्येन्द्रानुचरै मुहो
दैत्येन्द्रैश्चरैर्मुहो
दिवां देवा प्रतिजज्ञा
Divam deva parithyajya
भुविचेरुरलक्षिता
भुविचेरुरलक्षिताः.
thus disturbed again and again by the unnatural occurrences caused by the followers of Hiranyakashipu, all the people had to cease the activities of Vedic culture. Now receiving the results of yajna, the demigods also became disturbed. They left their residential quarters in the heavenly planets and, unobserved by the demons, began wandering on the planet Earth to see the disasters. So they also want to know what happened to the yajnas, because as a duty for them also, they wanted to see why such things are. So they also felt so disturbed to see what was happening. Text 17.
हिरण्यकशिपुर भ्रातु
हिरण्यकशिपुर्भ्रातु
संपरेष्ट्रस्य dukkita
Samaretasya dukkita
kritva kato dakadani
Kritvakatodakadini
Bhratraputrana sanvaya
Bhratrputrana sandvaya.
After performing the ritualistic observance for the death of his brother, Hiranyakashipu, being extremely unhappy, tried to pacify his nephews. Because even demons also have compassion among themselves. Sometimes we think why he should, right? But he also have feelings. Text 18 and 19.
Shaknim sambaram drishtim
Shakunim sambaram drishtin
bhuta santapanam vrikam
Bhudasantaparanam vikam
kalanabham mahanabham
Kalanabham mahanabham
harismarum astokshatam
Harismarunastokshata
Tanmataram Rushabhanum
Tanmatram Rushabhanum
Ditim cha jananim gira
Ditim cha jananim gira
Sakshnya desha kalajna
Sakshaya desha kalajna
Maha aha janeshwara
Idamaha janeshwara.
O king, Hiranyakashipu was extremely angry, but since he was a great politician, he knew how to act according to the time and situation. With sweet words, he began pacifying his nephews, whose names were Shakuni, Shambara, Drishti, Bhuta Santapana, Vrika, Kalanaba, Mahanaba, Harishmashru, and Utkacha. He also consoled their mother, his sister-in-law, Rushabhanu, as well as his own mother, Diti. He spoke to them all as follows. Text 20.
Shri Hiranyakashipur Uvacha
Shri Hiranyakashipurvacha
Ambamba he Vadhuputra
Mama he Vadhuputra
Viramahata Sochitam
Viramahata Sochitam
Ripo Abhimukhe Swagya
Viporamimke Swagya
Shuranam Vada Ipsita
Suranam Vadipsita.
Hiranyakashipu said, "My dear mother, sister-in-law, and nephews, you should not lament for the death of the great hero. For a hero's death in front of his enemy is glorious and desirable." So now he's talking the Vedic philosophy. Text 21.
Yeah, interesting.
Sri is used
It's a Sri here.
Huh?
It's a Sri
Sri
here.
Hiranyakashipu is like respect
And he
for
knows the future.
Yeah.
Narrator. He's a devotee.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I think
Oh.
we should.
Oh, is that why
Is it
he
like
is
that?
mentioned?
Bro? Is it Sri is for respecting him or
The Sri is
Yeah.
auspicious.
that there is some other meaning?
Or maybe
Oh,
it is-
not that I know.
maybe it is a-
I haven't come across anything that the acharyas say. Yeah.
Bhutanam iha samvasha
Bhutanam iha sambhasha
Tapayam iva suvrate
Tapayam iva suvrate
Daivena ikatra natanam
Daivena ikatra natanam
Nitana.
Oh, Nitanam.
Nitanam svakarmabhi
Unitanam svakarmabhi.
My dear mother, in a restaurant or a place for drinking cold water, many travelers are brought together, and after drinking water, they continue to their respective destinations. Similarly, living entities join together in a family, and later, as a result of their own actions, they are led apart to their destination. So he's talking about, Vedic philosophy of reincarnations and so on. Right? You take birth, this life together, next life another family like that. So he's comparing that to travelers coming to a drinking hole and then they go their separate ways.
He understands the concept of soul.
Yeah, they understand. They are all karma kanda.
Karma karmas.
Yeah, so they know that they will take birth again. So that's the whole idea here. Yeah. So Prabhupada says in the second paragraph, is it second? Yeah, second paragraph. Although Hiranyakashipu was a demon, he had Vedic knowledge and understanding. Thus, the advice given to his family members, his sister-in-law, mother-in-law, was quite sound. So Prabhupada is not saying it's wrong. Huh? Now, the demons, this category of demons, Hiranyakashipu, are very highly elevated in terms of their knowledge. They know the whole philosophy very well. But because they do not use their good intelligence for the service of the Lord, they are called demons. Because they go against the Lord's instruction of worshipping Him. Rather, they want to kill him. It's interesting. They read the same philosophy, but they want to kill. So therefore, you can understand what the conscious is like. The whole idea is to Samsiddhir Hari Doshanam, is to please the Supreme Lord, but not to do anything else. Here they are, they want to kill the Lord. How can they satisfy Lord, right? So that's it's like funny. He speaks the philosophy, but yet he doesn't know the conclusion of the philosophy. So not everyone who reads the Bhagavatam or the Bhagavad Gita come to the right conclusion. They cannot. Only through the mercy of a devotee they can come to the right conclusion. So it's essential to have the right association. Now, if you're going to look for association who are like you in the same way, then you're not going to make advancement. You have to associate with people who are superior to you, who can correct you and who can guide you. But if you're only looking for a friend like that, then pretty much if they are also doing the wrong thing and you're doing, then they will say no problem. Yeah, that's true. That's why you're looking for that answer. Okay, I'm okay. Sanction. He is also a devotee. He's also initiated. He says it's okay. It's like if you are a third class fool and you listen to a fourth class fool, you become fourth class fool. Yeah. Yeah. So it's like that. Yeah. So it's like that. Because he said it's okay. So we go down our consciousness goes down. All right, text 22.
Nitya Atma Vyaya Shuddha.
Nitya Atma Vyaya Shuddha.
Sarvaga Sarvavit Para.
Sarvaga Sarvavit Para.
Dattesha Atmano Lingam.
Dattesha Atmano Lingam.
Mayaya Vishrajan Gunan.
Maya Vishrajan Gunan.
The spirit soul, the living entity, has no death, for he is eternal and inexhaustible. Being free from material contamination, he can go anywhere in the material world or spiritual worlds. He is fully aware and completely different from the material body. But because of being misled by misuse of his slight independence, he is obliged to accept subtle and gross bodies created by the material energy, and thus he be subjected to so-called material happiness and distress. Therefore, no one should lament for the passing of the spirit soul from the body. Perfect philosophy.
Second chapter.
Okay, yeah, it's perfect philosophy. Nothing is wrong. So he's speaking like I was mentioning, Karanam Guna Sangasya, Sarasajyonishu Janmasu. Based on your association with the modes of nature, you will get a different body every different time like that. So no one should therefore lament for the passing of the spirit soul from the body. For even Vaishnavas also, we say we are happy when the devotee passes, and we are happy when they take birth also, like that. For the Vaishnavas,
Glorious.
he's glorious, whether he's alive or he's dead, right? He reasons ill,
One who
that
says Vaishnava.
Vaishnavas die, like that. But it's not like that. Bhaktivinoda Thakur says like that, right? So by the proper association, we can understand this philosophy properly. But if you have a demoniac mentality, then you will use it just until the point of what the goal of the soul is. Then you will change the philosophy. You say, no, that's okay. We as long as we enjoy, we are okay. So you do anything, you do sacrifices so that you can get better birth, so they can come back and enjoy. But they don't want to stop that cycle of repeated birth. They say, it's good, let me come again. So sometimes you'll find when you're preaching, people will say, so what? I'm enjoying now. Right?
They say we are doing good, so
Yeah.
actually all good will happen to us.
Yeah. Only good will happen, yeah. So they're so convinced. They don't understand that even the punya can get exhausted. It's like a bank balance, After a while, you don't have any balance in the bank. So if you're not doing the punya continuously, then this is going to run out. And not all of them you can check in at every life. Sometimes due to the way you are or the actions you've done, next life you have to suffer the whole life, maybe. Right? Sometimes you see people are suffering from the day they are born until they die. But they may have good punya, but it's not ready to harvest it. Like that. So one has to understand properly the philosophy. Then you can say, I don't want to go into this kind of cycles. How do I know next life I can be a devotee, but I may have such a terrible situation where I'll be suffering all the whole life until I surrender. Right? Krishna can make you go through. He can drag you like that. So we have to understand these things nicely. Then we will know. Okay. So simply knowing the philosophy is not enough. You have to act on it. Act on that philosophy. Okay. Next verse.
Yatam bhasha prachalata tarovo apichala eva chakshusha brahmayanina drishyate chalati va bhu.
Because of the movements of the water, the trees on the bank of a river, when reflected on the water, seem to move. Similarly, when the eyes move because of some mental derangement, the land appears to move also. So, Prabhupada says, a drunkard, for example, or a person with heart disease sometimes feels that the land is moving. That means he's having vertigo or something like that. Similarly, the reflections of the trees in the flowing river also appear to move. These are the actions of Maya. It's an illusion. It's real, but it is an illusion. We are seeing water move, thinking that the trees move. Actually, the living entity does not move. Stanur achalo yam. The living entity does not take birth or accept birth. But because of the transient, subtle, and gross bodies, the living entity appears to move from one place to another or be dead and gone forever. You understand this statement? The living entity is trying to enjoy different circumstances. So he's given different bodies. And through that different body, he is going through happiness and distress. But he doesn't go through that as a soul. The body is the one that's experiencing. And so because he identifies with the body, then he experiences those things. All those difficulties he's going through.
So it's talking about the position of the soul.
Yeah.
As unmoving and unchanging.
Yeah, the soul itself it's not actually it's always there, but he's you can say like a dream. So sometimes you can have a dream, and then in the dream you're experiencing something happy. Sometimes you dream horrible things, but actually when you wake up, it didn't affect you. So it's not really affecting you, but it's your consciousness. So that is what he's saying. The same way he's saying all these are not affecting the soul. He's saying it's big philosophy. He's talking big philosophy. So then Prabhupada quotes from Jagadananda Pandit Prema Vivarta. When a living entity is conditioned by material nature, he is exactly like a person haunted by a ghost. Okay? That means if your body is mainly in the mode of goodness, you are acting in the mode of goodness. If it's in the mode of passion, you are acting in the mode of passion, or in mixed modes. So actually you are pure. Okay, so whatever is acting on you and you identify with that, you think you are that. So that's his point here. So one should therefore understand the fixed position of the spirit soul. How he is carried away by the waves of material nature to different bodies and different situations. Under lamentation and henkel. Same thing, karanam, gunasangasya. Yeah. And because he's identifying with the body, ahankara vivutmatma kartam iti manyate. So therefore he's thinking, oh yeah, I am the doer. But actually he's not. He's going through experiences of the material nature giving him for his desires. Physically he's not doing. His desires are what he's doing. Only thing he's doing is desiring, oh, I'm walking now, I'm sleeping now, I'm jumping, eating, sleeping, mating, defending. So all these are desires that goes through his mind. It's a very complicated technology, which Everyone is trying to develop. Maybe the virtual reality is like that. When you wear that thing and you are walking, but you're actually sitting there, but you experience it,
That's true.
right? You're enjoying, oh, I'm going walk here, walk there. So that virtual reality is what the jiva, as the soul, is going through in the body.
Very good analogy.
It has to be, right? Huh?
Now I understand. Because we know virtual reality, we know understand.
So you understand you are in a virtual reality now. Really, you're going through a virtual reality because it's not the reality. Yeah.
Just the desire moves.
Yes. So with your desire, the more you become Krishna conscious, the less you identify with this world. And you identify as a servant of Krishna. So that becomes your real. That's real. As you agree that I am the servant, so I'm doing all this for pleasing Krishna. So eventually, the Lord will remove you from the influence of the material world, and you go back to God. That's your success, so to speak. Text 24.
Evam gune brahmyaya brahmyamani
Evam gune brahmyamani
manasi avikala puman
Manasi avikala puman
yati tat samyatam bhadre
yati tasamyatam bhadre
hiyalingo lingavan iva
yalingo lingavaniva.
In the same way, O my gentle mother, when the mind is agitated by the movements of the modes of material nature, the living entity, although freed from all the different phases of the subtle and gross bodies, thinks that he has changed from one condition to another. Right? Because he's identifying. And therefore he's thinking, oh, now I'm in a better situation. Right? You live in let's say, when you first came to Seattle, you have to rent a place. So rental apartments are not that great. So cockroach, coal, electricity, right? You live on this, and then all the cooking area, all dirty, grease. Then you don't like. Then after that, you get some money, you go to a better apartment, or you buy your house. Then you feel everything is great. But only the house change. You're still experiencing happiness and distress. So in the same way, we choose what is happiness and what is distress according to what we think is important. If the same apartment is given to someone in the Sudan or in one of those places where they have nothing, they'll say this is heavenly. Just like those in India, all those village boys, you bring them to America and you show them all the young girls here, they'll say this is Apsaras. Yeah, they get bewildered. Right? It's true. This is a fact. That's how people see because of the conditioning. Based on our conditioning, we see things. But if you're trained to see things as these are all parts of the material world, and this according to this reaction, according to that modes, these are how people are, then you see through Shastra Chakshus. That's the difference. Then you will see, oh, this is why they are. But if you associate with the modes, then you forget. The intelligence you have is useless. It's based on our senses, so which is what he's proposing. He's speaking the philosophy, but there's a twist in it. He's saying we have to enjoy our senses, and we can only enjoy if there's no such thing as Krishna or Vishnu, like that. So we identify the body, mind, and the intelligence as us, or the false ego, you can say. That's what it is. That is what it is. If the false ego identifies the body, the mind, and the intelligence as the self. But actually, that is not the self. The self itself is this pure soul who has all this in pure forms. The soul is composed of all these things also, but in the pure form. But when he identifies with the body, then he has the brain or all those things. He uses them to function in this material world, to derive some pleasure using the body. You can only get so much pleasure, just like when mosquito bites, it's itchy. But when it's healing, the scratch feels nice. Right? Yeah. But actually, it's a distress,
Sense gratification is exactly.
Yeah, so it's actually distressful condition, but because it's slightly healing and you're feeling happy already. But actually you're suffering.
Material happiness is
Huh?
exactly like that.
Middle?
Material happiness.
Material happiness. Yeah, that's what it is. You're actually suffering. So as I said, for someone in India, those village boys, for them, when they come here, they think I'm in heavenly plan. America is heavenly plan, and they don't want to go back, right? No, it's like that because they think this is pure enjoyment. Yeah.
So anytime when we see things without connection with Krishna, it's all
You are bewildered.
We are
you are bewildered. Anytime there's no Krishna in your observation, you are
basically modes.
you are in your Xbox or whatever game you're playing. Right. Yeah, but you can see, even at that time, millions of years ago, the knowledge was present and they accepted the soul is not the same as the body. But in the present moment, they don't have this knowledge. But the reaction is the same though. Hiranyakashipu had the knowledge, but still he didn't accept the fact that there's a supreme person. Here, they don't have the knowledge, they don't even want any supreme person. So the degradation of the culture you can see, the impact of the culture. So it was clearly defined in those days who's a demon. He's against the Supreme Lord. Here, it's very hard to say who's a demon. Because there's no clear-cut indication. So that's why they say in this Kali Yuga, you can be demonic or you can be also good. So when we encourage people in the process of Krishna consciousness, you can make that demonic tendencies go away simply by chanting and following, taking prasad and so on. So all those bad qualities. How do you know? You know yourself, what you were and what you are now. So you've given up the demonic tendencies, which means you had them, or you still have them, but you have put them on hold or back burner or burn it away through Krishna consciousness. So therefore he's saying, why are you lamenting for that which is a dead body? Right philosophy, Krishna also told Arjuna. Right? So don't be like that. So Mano Dharma, we are taken to the next body by our thinking. So Prabhupada says, in the last paragraph, middle, he says, we are spirit souls, but when carried away by mental activities, we suffer from so-called material conditions of life. Okay? This generally happens to non-devotees. Now, this is an important statement because if you have difficulties accepting Krishna's statements, and then you want to still indulge in mental speculation or material things, thinking how you can get, then you should understand that you are bordering on becoming a non-devotee. So you have to be very careful. Because he says generally it happens to non-devotee. Means in general they experience that, but it can also happen to devotee if he's not careful. Yeah. Haro abhaktasya kuto mahad gunaha. Non-devotees may possess exalted material qualities, but because they are foolish, they have no good qualification. Okay, so sometimes you see they are very kind, they're compassionate, very charitable. Devotees are not like that. But still, Srila Prabhupada says they have no good qualifications because they do not accept Krishna or Vishnu. Yeah. So it's not so much as what they have, it's what they don't have. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you should see like that. Can I give them Krishna? Do they have Krishna like that? And then you approach like that. And that is the relation should be based on that. I can give Krishna or they have Krishna that we can share. Like that. Otherwise, he's got money, we'll go and then meet the guy. Okay, fine. You can take the money for Krishna's service, that's fine. But if you're just associating because he can give you some insights into the stock market and so on, then it's not good. Yeah, then you're also in the same category as a non-devotee. So basically, whatever our position is just an ornamentation in this life. Okay, your position as a CEO or a project director or whatever your position is, or you are the regional sales manager for the Northeast sector of the United States of America. Right? People think it's a big title. But it's just a decoration. Decoration, Prabhupada says, decoration for a dead body.
Oh my God.
Designation.
Because we are better than that. All these are temporary.
It's nothing.
Yeah, it's nothing actually. It's nothing. Text 25 and 26.
Esha Atma Viparyaso.
Esha Atma Viparyaso.
Hiyalinge Linga Bhavana.
Hiyalinge Linga Bhavana.
Esha Priya Priya Yogo.
Esha Priya Priya Yogo.
Yoga Karma Samskriti.
Yoga Karma Samskriti.
Sambhavascha Vinasascha.
Sambhavascha Vinasascha.
Shokascha Vividasmita.
Shokascha Vividasmita.
Vivekascha Chintascha.
Avivekascha Chintascha.
Vivekasmritir Evacha.
Vivekasmritirevacha.
In his bewildered state, the living entity accepting the body and mind to be the self considers some people to be his kinsmen and others to be outsiders. Because of this misconception, he suffers. Indeed, the accumulation of such concocted material ideas is the cause of suffering and so-called happiness in the material world. The conditioned soul, thus situated, must take birth in different species and work in various types of consciousness, thus creating new bodies. This continued material life is called samsara. Birth, death, lamentation, foolishness, and anxiety are due to such material considerations. Thus, we sometimes come to a proper understanding and sometimes fall again to a wrong conception of life. This will happen as long as you don't have Krishna consciousness. Or if you don't have Prabhupada's guidance, we will all be in this situation. So we have to understand. So sometimes you see some people like, you can see in America, we don't want the Mexicans to come in. But we are not thinking that they also deserve to have a good life. It's interesting concept, but at the same time, this is how we think. We think, oh, these are our people. Right? Then you go to Olympic Games, yes, USA, right? Same thing. They are all people, but we have this problem. We see them to be outsiders.
Swajana.
But many generations ago, your family was outsiders. And that is okay. Now it's different because I'm seeing it through my vision. So that is what he's saying. The soul is bewildered because he's taking so many births that sometimes he's seeing good, sometimes he's thinking it's bad. Text 27.
Atrapi udaharanti mam.
Atrapi udaharanti mam.
Idihasam puratanam.
Itihasam puratanam.
Yamasya preta bandhuna. Samvadam tam nibodhatam.
In this regard, an example is given from an old history which involves a discourse between Yamaraja and the friends of a dead person. Please hear it attentively. So now is Itihasa. He's referring from the Puranas.
So he knows Yamaras and punishment and everything.
When he harasses them later. So even at that time, you can see how they respect scriptures, even the demons, and they use it, but for their own purposes. These are Itihasas means history, just in case you want to know. The Puranas are not chronologically recorded, but the incidents mentioned in the Puranas are actual histories of bygone ages. Srimad Bhagavatam is Mahapurana, the essence of all the Puranas, because there are 10 topics in the Mahapurana. Smaller Puranas, they may have 5, 6, 7 like that. But Mahapurana has 5 topics, which is in the second canto. You can look at it up. Often talks about creation, sub-creation, the Supreme Lord, Manvantaras, historical genealogy of devotees, kings, lineage, like that. So 10 topics are like that. Yeah.
What is
Now then, Prabhupada also says the Mayavadi scholars do not accept the Puranas because they only talk from the Bhagavad Gita generally, and then they can twist it or turn it according to the way they like. Because the Puranas will tell them exactly what is this and that, and they don't want that. But we accept the authorities coming from Madhvacharya and others like that. Text 28.
Ushinare Swadbhut Raja
Ushinare Swabhudraja
Sujajna iti Vashruta
Yashna iti Vishruta
Saptrair
Sapat.
Sapatnair Nihato Yudhe
Sapatnair Nihato Yudhe
Nyatayastam Upasata
Yatayastam Upasata.
In the state known as Ushinara,
Ushina
there was a celebrated king named Suyagna. When the king was killed in battle by his enemies, his kinsmen sat down around the dead body and began to lament the death of their friend. Text 29 to 31.
Vishirna Ratna Kavacham
Vishirna Ratna Kavacham
Vibrashtam Bharanasrajam
Vibrastam Yaranasrajam
Sharanirhinna Hridayam
Saranidhyam
Sayanam Asrigya Amilam
Sayanam
Prakirna Kesham Dastaksham
Prakirnakesham Dastaksham
Ravashadastadachadam
Pravasadashadashadam
Rajakunta Mukham Bhojam
Raja Kunta Mukhamojam
Chinnayuda Bhujam Mride
Chisnayudabrajamule
Ushinarendram Vidina Tatak
Change it to Ushinarendra.
Vidina Tatakritam
Ushinarendram Vidinatatakritam
Patim Mahisha Prasamiksha Dukkita
Adim Mahisha Prasamiksha
Atasmanate Tikarer Uro Brasham
Tasmanaketi Karopurusham
Natyo Muhuttat Padayor Papatam
His golden bejeweled armor smashed, his ornaments and garlands fallen from their places, his hair scattered, and his eyes lusterless. The slain king lay on the battlefield, his entire body smeared with blood, his heart pierced by the arrows of the enemy. When he died, he had wanted to show his prowess, and thus he had bitten his lips, and his teeth remained in that position. His beautiful lotus-like face was now black and covered with dust from the battlefield. His arms, with his sword and other weapons, were cut and broken. When the queens of the king of Ushinara saw their husband lying in that position, they began crying, "O Lord, now that you have been killed, we also have been killed." Repeating these words again and again, they fell down, pounding their breasts at the feet of the dead king. So even though the guy was dying, he wanted to show his prowess. Prabhupada writes that. So he was biting his lips to show, I don't care if you kill me, but I'm still,
So which king is this we're talking about?
It's a story. He's just relating a historical.
Story begins from which way?
Yeah. Text 32.
Dakshavaccher Daitangri Pankajam
Rudakya Uche Pankajam
Sinchanta Asre Kucha Kunkumarunai
Chantasre Kuchakumkumarunai
Visrashta Kesha Bharana Suchamrinam
Srishtasya
Srijancha Akradanaya Vilekire
As the queens loudly cried, their tears glided down their breasts, becoming reddened by kunkuma powder and fell upon the lotus feet of their husband. Their hair became disarrayed, their ornaments fell, and in a way that evoked sympathy from the hearts of others, the queens began lamenting their husband's death. 33.
Aho Vidatra Karunena Na Prabho
Aho Vidata Karunena Na Prabho
Bhavan Pranito Drigacharam Tasam
Bhavan Pranito Trigagocharam Dasam
Ushinaranam asivrittadapura Krito dhunayena sucham vivadhana.
O Lord, you have now been removed by cruel providence to a state beyond our sight. You had previously sustained the livelihood of the inhabitants of Ushinara, and thus they were happy. But your condition now is the cause of their unhappiness. Text 34.
Tvaya kritagnyena vayam mahipate katam vinashyama sahrittamena te tatranuyanam tava virapadayo srusru satinam dishayatra yashyasi.
O king, O hero, you are a very grateful husband and the most sincere friend of all of us. How shall we exist without you? O hero, wherever you are going, please direct us there so that we may follow in your footsteps and engage again in your service. Let us go along with you. This is like, they're saying if you do, let's do sati, right? And then we will also follow wherever you go. So Prabhupada says the queens will accept Saha Marana. That means they call it sati, right? Yeah. That the body of the king is burnt and then the wife. So these wives are saying the same thing. Right. In those days, the queens, in those previous yugas, they had the willpower and the strength. So they can control their senses and sit in the fire and give up their life.
Go back with the king.
Yeah. So wherever he's destined, they'll go there. But nowadays, the jivas don't have that ability, so we shouldn't force anyone. In fact, it's not recommended in Kali Yuga. Nobody is qualified. Yeah. So Prabhupada said that this system was still there until the time of British, but later it was discouraged, since the attitude of wives gradually changed with the advancement of Kali Yuga. They didn't have that ability anymore to die. Thus, the system of Saha Marana has practically been abolished. Then Prabhupada then says, nevertheless, within the past 50 years, which means like almost 100 years now, I have seen the wife of a medical practitioner voluntarily accept death immediately when her husband died. Both the husband and wife were taken in procession in the mourning cart. Such intense love of a chaste wife for her husband is a special case. So he has seen such things. Text 35.
Evam vilapatinam vai parigrihya patim anichatinam niharam arkostam sanyavartata.
The time was appropriate for the body to be burned, but the queens, not allowing it to be taken away, continued lamenting for the dead body, which they kept on their laps. In the meantime, the sun completed its movements for setting in the west. It's interesting though. They were afraid. In one sense, Prabhupada says they didn't want the body to be burned because the queens were afraid to die also. Even though they want to be with the husband, they didn't want to die, so they want to prolong it for a long time. The other point he mentions is, what is the point in crying for a dead body? It's already a dead lump of matter. Why are you laughing?
No, that statement that the wives do not want to die.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
They're holding on to the body.
Yeah. Because they made a statement that we will die with you, and then now they are. It's funny though, but at the same time, you can understand who wants to die, right? So Gokara, two Dvipada Gokara, like cows and asses. That's how we become when we don't understand this bodily concept. And how it inhibits us from taking our spiritual life properly. When we don't understand all, then we think like asses and donkeys like that. Yeah? So this kind of bodily concept, you can see that people out there who are so much into body. So that's why you see nowadays the fashion is all about body only. Losing weight, who can show the body with the least amount of clothing. You're laughing. It's true, no?
Yeah.
Then everyone thinks that's okay.
Yeah.
Everybody thinks it's okay. But actually, when you look at them, they are walking like a fools, you know. And the whole society is thinking it's okay. They don't understand what modesty is all about anymore. You know? Both the men, women, all lost it already. So it's sad. So that's why Prabhupada says they are like cows and donkeys or asses. Because the cows don't wear any clothing. The asses don't, the dogs don't. You know? It's funny. Yeah, but that's how it is. So Prabhupada also says that he has actually seen that sometimes in the middle of the first paragraph, when a cow's calf has died, the milkman cheats the cow by presenting before her the dead body of a calf. Thus the cow who would not otherwise allow milking licks the dead body and allows herself to be milked. Poor thing. No? Yeah, but you can see this is how it is. Because the queens were holding on to the body, thinking that somehow or other something will happen. Right? That's how it's true, right? When you miss somebody so much, you're thinking maybe he'll come alive. Maybe. And they'll dream for many, many months. They'll be with their husbands or the children, and they wake up and say, where's the child? Where's the child? Where's the husband? He was here. I just had a dream. And he didn't die. Yeah, it's like that. Yeah. Yeah, so this like that. So it is very strong among foolish people. And then Prabhupada says nowadays great scientists are trying to freeze dead bodies. So then in the future, these frozen bodies may again be brought to life. They tried to do that with Walt Disney. Yeah. But it didn't work. All his relatives pulled the plug because they want the money. So if he's coming alive next time, they will say, we can't take the money. So as long as his body was preserved, the court couldn't give the lawyers were stopping from taking the wealth away. So they pulled it and then it defreeze. So you see, money is more important than the person. No? Like that. So even though this was millions of years ago, you can see it's the same. People are attached to the body. It doesn't change. Yeah? People just act like that. Text 36.
Tatraha preta bandhunam asrutya paridevitam ahatan balako bhutva yamaha swayam.
While the queens were lamenting for the dead body of the king, their loud cries were heard even from the abode of Yamaraj. Assuming the body of a boy, Yamaraj personally approached the relatives of the dead body and advised them as follows. So Yamaraj personally went there to help them out. It is difficult. I have seen it. There was I remember many years ago, this home program we went, because the man's wife died. He had 2 children. So we went there and he was crying like anything. I was like shocked. So of course they asked me to speak, and I had to speak about passing away and that we shouldn't be attached to the body and so. But there he was crying. My wife, he was crying and crying. So much crying. I was thinking this guy might, commit suicide.
He's devoted.
No, this congregation member, just crying and crying. But then 6 months later, I saw him. He already went to India and married another woman. He married another person. So I was thinking, what is the attachment here? Where is this attachment? It is all on the bodily concept. So he had another. And because he had 2 small children, so obviously he needed to get married. But he was no more lamenting or crying like anything. You're so happy. Like nothing happened, you know. Yeah. So Prabhupada also makes another statement. If sometimes if you are forced to die, that means you have to give up the body. That means you have to give up the body. That's what it is. So sometimes you may be forced to. But it cannot happen until you have another body ready. Okay? Or unless this body is destroyed, you cannot get another body. That's the point. Yeah, I was trying. Yeah. You cannot take another birth until you give up this birth. So sometimes we dream we want to be like this, we want to be. It's actually our subtle desires, and you're creating those bodies. So if you think too much, oh, I want to be like this, then you're actually preparing for the next birth. Now, if you're thinking, I want to go back and serve Krishna like that, then it's a different preparation to go back to God here. That's fine. But if you're thinking, oh, next time I'll come, I hope I come, I'll be, this person, I'll help, I hope I am like, more beautiful or more, wealthier,
Creating bodies.
Yeah. So then you're actually subtly creating the situation which will happen because your strong desire will manifest. But if you're so much attached to this body and don't want to give up, and even if you die and still don't want to give up, then you hang around the body as a ghost like that. Yeah.
So one of the early devotees was saying, yeah, if I do this devotional service, next time I'll have good life and better wealth and all that. Even the practicing devotees have this.
Yeah, because they know they're not doing properly. So therefore they are thinking, I'll do some donation and all and prepare for my next birth. This is what Hiranyakashipu and all are doing. But at least the devotee is giving to Krishna. So hopefully by the time he dies, Krishna will come and purify him before he gives up his body. Yeah, sometimes you see devotee goes to hell, right? Before he dies. Yeah. So that means Krishna is probably preparing them to take back to God here. Yeah. Giving them an opportunity to give up the attachment. Yeah, sometimes you see they may say, oh, what about my friend, my mother, my children? They're crying and they're sick and about to die. Then after a few months, when they're getting worse, they're like, it's okay, no problem. So then you wonder what changed. Yeah, because they've accepted, and then they can, they've been revealed in their hearts what the next stage is by the Lord Himself. Yeah. Yeah. So interesting statement Srila Prabhupada makes. So if you attach too much, you hang around as a ghost. But if you're a pious person, then Yamaraj will not let him hang around too much. He'll give him another body. So then he continues, since the living being in the body of the king had some attachment to his body, he was hovering as a ghost. So Yamaraj came as a special consideration to instruct the person because they are attached to him and he was attached to them. So he's hanging around. So sometimes a living jiva cannot go if you are too attached also to that jiva also. So you have to give up. So he came to instruct them personally. And why?
Because the body is still not burnt out.
Not yet. They wouldn't let the body go, no? They are holding on to the body.
Because they have to go.
Okay, so he says he approaches a child because a child is not restricted but is granted admittance anywhere, which is true. Can sneak in and sneak out, even to the palace of a king. Besides this, the child was speaking philosophy. People are very much interested in hearing philosophy when it is spoken by a child. So that's good. You let the child sit on the Vyasasana and you see how many people will come and sit and listen. Okay, text 37.
Shri Yama Uvacha.
Shri Yama Uvacha.
Amisham Vayasadhikanam.
Amisham Vayasadhikanam.
Vipashyatam Loka Vidhim Vimoha.
Vipashyatam Loka Vidhim Vimoha.
Yatragatastattra gatam manushya
Yatrāgatastatra gatam manusyam
Swayam swadharma pi sachanti apartham.
Swayam sadharmapi sachanti partham. Sri Yamaraja said, alas, how amazing it is. These persons who are older than me have full experience that hundreds and thousands of living entities have taken birth and died. Thus, they should understand that they also are apt to die, yet still they are bewildered. The conditioned soul comes from an unknown place and returns after death to that same unknown place. There's no exception to this rule, which is conducted by material nature. Knowing this, why do they uselessly lament? It's the same philosophy we all talked about.
So the unknown means that it can be any place.
Yeah. Because you don't see them, then you see them, then you don't see them. Right? So they may be in a heavenly planet, or they could be just hanging around in some Yamaraj's hell planet or something. So you do not exactly know where they're coming from.
But they exist.
They exist. Right? So then continuing, Srila Prabhupada discusses how the soul is manifested and not manifested. No? Even he gives example, like 20 years ago, there were, or even 10 years ago, there was all these houses were not here. Now they are manifested. So that's what his point is. That many times manifestations takes place, he says. So then in another 10 or 20 years, they may break all these houses, and then something else they will build.
In Detroit, it's already happening. All because of the down economy, everything is
destroyed. Huh? Yeah.
But it's picking back up now. There's a temple
That
also
is-
that
that
got
is
opened.
now-
Yeah, so that's the point Srila Prabhupada is saying. Sometimes manifest, sometimes not. So you think, where did it go? And then another guy will come and build 10 stories, 20 stories. Yeah, so the material body is like that also. It's a temporary situation. We're just using it for a short time, but we have to use it for the right reason. That's the point Srila Prabhupada wants us to understand. You can sometimes be flying in a 747, or sometimes you can be a king in a chariot fighting, or you can wake up and you can see that you're not in the sky and not in the seat of the chariot. You're in your one-room apartment. Like that. So then in the last paragraph, Prabhupada says, because he's discussing the soul is present in the body, and that's the key thing. So he says, in the Mahabharata, he said, Adarshanad iha yataha punascha darshanam gataha. The statement could support the theory of the atheistic scientists that the child in the womb of the mother has no life, but is simply a lump of matter. To follow this theory, the lump of matter is aborted by a surgical operation, no life is killed. The body of a child is like a tumor, and if a tumor is operated upon and thrown away, no sin is involved. The same argument could be put forward in regard to the king and his queens. The body of the king was manifested from an unmanifested source, and again it became unmanifested from manifestation. Since the manifestation exists only in the middle, between the 2 points of unmanifestation, why should one cry for the body manifested in the interim? So his argument again is using the argument to say, why are you crying now? It's a dead body, it's a tumor. Text 38.
Aho vayam dhanyatamaya datra
Aho vayam dhanyatamaya datra
Yatva pitribhyam vichintayama Bhakshamana abalabakradibhi Sarakshita rakshati yo hi garbhe.
It is wonderful that these elderly women do not have a higher sense of life than we do. Indeed, we are most fortunate, for although we are children and have been left to struggle in material life, unprotected by father and mother, And although we are very weak, we have not been vanquished or eaten by ferocious animals. Thus, we have a firm belief that the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who has given us protection even in the womb of the mother, will protect us everywhere. Ah, it's nice. The Lord always gives protection to everybody, not just one person or another person. He's always protecting everyone, and He's giving what they need. Huh? Whatever you need is been given to you according to your previous karma and so on. And that is sanctioned by the Lord. So therefore one should not lament the birth and death of a living being which has been arranged by the Supreme Lord. The Lord knows what you need and what you don't. So he quotes, Bhagavad quotes, Sarvasya Chaham Ridi Sannivisto Matta Smriti Jnanam Aponam. So from him come remembrance, knowledge, and forgetfulness. One must act according to the direction of the Lord within the heart. How do you know how to act? You need guidance. Because if you're too coward, you do not know what the directions mean. But because a conditioned soul wants to act independently, the Lord gives him the facility to act and experience the reactions. So that's what our independence means. We want to be independent of the Shastra, which is what the Lord wants us to follow. So he says, do what you want, but then you have to suffer the reactions. Sometimes the reaction may be favorable, but most often it is not favorable. Okay.
So when these fetuses get aborted in mother's wombs, so is it because those are sinful living entities that have to be finished pretty quickly?
That could be also, but then but it could be also those living entities were also in their lives, previous life, they could have aborted their own children. Sometimes you get the same reaction. That's one way of looking at it. But the other way is, yeah, they may have a very short life, or they were very sinful people, and they must have killed children and so on. So they also undergo the same punishments.
Many times.
Yeah. So, but then the mother who's doing it has to suffer the consequences.
Also get the same reaction.
So it's not oh, that's the end of that thing. No,
She has to get
it's a vicious
aborted.
cycle.
She has to get aborted.
She will also be aborted unless she takes up Krishna consciousness and regrets, and then hopefully the Lord forgives them. Generally, if you feel bad about that and you pray and ask for forgiveness, sure, the Lord will forgive you. Yeah. It's like that. So if they don't want to follow, then they have to experience the reactions. Don't follow the Lord's instruction, you must follow the Maya's reactions. That's all the whole statement is. So after many, many lifetimes, then he understands, oh, I'm suffering. Right? So like we take up the process because we understand we are suffering otherwise. And we also understand this is what we want to do spiritually. That's why we are here and we are taking up this process. So that's why Prabhupada quotes the verse, Bahunam Janmanam Ante. So he comes to the conclusion that I have to somehow surrender. And that it becomes another challenge for us. Because we are conditioned so much from previous life and maybe even this life. It's a big challenge for us to completely surrender. But that is our duty. At least we know we have to do that. Text 39.
Yaichayesha srijati damabhyayo
Yaichayesha srijati damabhyayo
Yaeva rakshati avalumpate chaya
Yaeva rakshati avalumpate chaya
Tashabala kridanamahu ishitus
Tashabala kridanamahu ishitus
Characharam nigraha sangraha prabhu
Characharam nigraha sangrahe prabhu.
The boy addressed the women, O weak women, only by the will of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is never diminished, is the entire world created, maintained, and again annihilated. This is the verdict of the Vedic knowledge. This material creation, consisting of the moving, and non-moving is exactly like his plaything. Being the Supreme Lord, he is completely competent to destroy and protect. So obviously, they will also argue, which is what Prabhupada writes. If our husband was protected by the Supreme Lord, personality of God, when in the womb, why has he not been given protection now? People talk like that. So then to this question, the answer is Ya Ichayesha Sri Jatidam Avyayo Ya Eva Rakshati Avalumpate Chaya. One cannot argue with the activities of the Supreme Personality of God here. The Lord is always free. He's not an order carrier. That's the point. And therefore he can protect and can also annihilate. Just like he protected, now he allows the other opposite to take place. He's not our order carrier. Whatever he likes, he will do. Therefore, he is the Supreme Lord. The Lord does not create this material world at anyone's request, and therefore he can annihilate everything merely by his will. So that's important to know. He's not doing the creation because we asked for it. It's his will. He said, okay, I think this will help us here. That is his supremacy. Of course, people will argue. If one argues, in which a lot of time people will say, why does he act in this way? Why he created like that? That is the argument. The answer is that he can do so because he is supreme. Because he knows what he's doing. No one can question his activities. That's the other thing. If one argues, what is the purpose of this sinful creation and annihilation? The answer is that to prove his omnipotence, he can do anything and no one can question him. If he were answerable to us concerning why he does something and why he does not, his supremacy would be curtailed. Right? Whatever we ask, then he has to come and explain. It doesn't make sense. Then what's his position as a supreme? So this is another way to understand the science of God also. What's his position compared to us? Okay, so okay, we'll stop here. Right? So then we'll continue.
We said up to 1, right? We'll just take a short break.
Okay, take a short break then. Then we'll, 10 minutes. At 12:20 we continue.
Mataji charger will have
Charge. We have a charger.